Okay, meeting called to order at 5:31. Everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the March 2nd meeting?
Motion to accept. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I wasn't here, so I will abstain.
Okay. Any bills?
Bills?
No bills, good, I like that. Correspondence.
Take the title and correspondence?
Oh, you want to talk about that now?
Yep.
Yeah, the,
Okay. Well, let me read it. Okay. Received on March 10th from Pine Hills Estates Mobile Home Park, DEP file number SE 2690918. They'd like to request an amended order of conditions for the previous issued for the above location, and the order of conditions number 40 required a barrier to be installed to prevent work on the northern section of the project until new plans were submitted to the commission for approval. The revised plans provided show the design of the Pine Hill Estates mobile park that was illustrated in a light green color and identified as option C in the overall plan. The plans provided also have the same color-coded map on the cover page for easy reference. In accordance with the regulations, we will await the decision of the Commission relative to the date and time of a public hearing for the proposed amendment. Once received, abutters to the project will be notified of the date, and a certified mail and legal notice will be placed in the Taunton Gazette. So essentially, he's asking to move forward with that section of development under an amended order of conditions.
yeah, the idea of an amended order, if you remember, we had that discussion when they came and they had wanted to extend the original order and you couldn't do that. And they came here with an application for the one that they were doing because they said most of that work was out of the buffer zone and there was no need to do like an updated topo. The the demarcation that you established with the barrier was so there is a clear distinction between the work that was being allowed, and the commission at the time, I believe your minutes will reflect that, but anyway, we said that they have to come back. A modification for a modification of an order of conditions will be something similar, for example, like what we did on Patriots Recycling, where you give them approval to do work. All they did was they ended up cutting more area than they needed to, but it did not change the scope of the work that they were doing there. The idea of an amended order, like you looked at the house with the swimming pool, you've got an area that's already cleared and they put in the swimming pool. This one here is a very, very substantial work, including new topographic survey, new drainage calculations and plans. It will be improper to look at that as a modification of an order of conditions. You need a new filing for the scope of work.
But the original filing did include that area to begin with, except it was outdated and they needed to change the plans to accommodate that new development. In other words, the stuff had been expired.
Then there would not have been any need to do additional topo.
Okay.
And regrading.
Right, and we told them at that time to submit new plans.
Right.
Before we allowed them to continue with the
Right.
work.
And
So why wouldn't that fall into the same notice of intent?
The drainage before the original order, yes, it expired. The original order did not require compliance with the stormwater management of 2008. And so when you have new application, this section requires compliance with the stormwater management guidelines.
Now, my question is, that new section you're saying will be a different order of conditions, separate filing completely then?
Correct.
Okay. So when the present section is finished,
They ask for a certificate of
they
compliance.
should be able to get a COC on that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
What does the rest of
There's
the
a-
commission think?
The road is supposed to go out to South Street. Does anyone know whether that was part of the original one, or is it part of the new section?
I have to look at that. But I do know that the scope of work with the compliance with the stormwater management, which is what they've designed it for.
The plans that were submitted with this request, that encompass that area?
With the drainage, yeah.
So they've got all the paperwork?
Well, they have most of the paperwork, and as an amended order, the scope of review will be different versus.
Well, it's a major
Yeah,
change in
right,
conditions, but
right.
doesn't necessarily need to generate a new notice of intent.
I think so, but I don't vote. I can only make a recommendation. And it's up to the commission to determine whether indeed we would allow that as a minor modification, as an amended
It'll
order.
be an amended order,
Yeah.
which means he has to draft
Yeah.
new plans and he has to go through the process, but it's short of asking for a new notice of intent.
Also, are we able to request the new stormwater management as part of the amendment?
Well, that's the reason why I said it's a new filing, because it will be a backdoor way of allowing the commission. You have to be careful, because you allow that original work that's already started, right? That they filed, that area did not really require a lot of drainage work, because most of it stayed out of the jurisdiction.
Most of it was completed.
Right, most of it was completed, and then all they were doing was basically, you allow them to file so that they can continue with the houses.
Yeah.
Okay, that is not really the case here. That was the reason why we said, put a JC barrier to make sure that you don't inadvertently get over on the other side and start working and say, hey, we're sorry, we missed it.
Okay, here's my next question. Difference in the fees, is that about,
That's different in fees, absolutely.
huge difference? Is it $1,000 or $10,000?
Well, probably more like 5.
For both?
No,
For the
For a
amended,
new notice?
Right.
a new notice would be about 5.
Right.
An amended order would be about what?
For an amended order, you don't have to charge anything for it, other than the advertisement.
Well, he's got to advertise anyway.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
You gotta say for amended order, 300.
Under the local bylaw, but not under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Just a point of clarification, though. Your recommendation is to not approve the,
Amended.
He's asking for him to submit a new notice of intent.
yeah, well, I just wanted to
And I'm
clarify
trying to
that
see
point,
if we
so,
can
yes.
make it work with the existing notice of
No, I
intent.
hear, no, I understand that. I
Just save the
wanted to
gentleman some money.
see what,
Azu, on the original notice of intent,
Yes, sir.
was the whole scope of the project involved? Not currently what we're doing with the phase?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So,
It was.
so the only thing that wasn't on that, because that happened so long ago, the whole project is the new stormwater management of 2008?
Correct.
So that's the only thing that's,
That's a major difference, it's a major difference. You provide treatment, water quality treatment. You provide for recharge based on impervious areas.
but could we do on an amended order of conditions, make that a special condition? That needs to be updated?
I think that's already part of their plan anyways.
Right,
correct?
it's on their plan.
So it's already there.
Yeah, but you know, if you're doing it as an amended, you're doing a $300 just for an amended order under the local bylaw, which is not required under the state. And you're reviewing a substantial plan, you're not asking for a
Okay.
consultant review.
So,
And yet you want that, to be reviewed.
okay, so if we were to say amended order requiring a consultant fee, paying for the review fees, would it be possible for you to put together an estimate to review that scope of the project?
Well, you do have a fee schedule for consultant review anyway, for notice of intent. under the local bylaw right now.
Okay.
What's the cost on that, do you know?
Well, we don't have,
I don't have the,
You'd have to
Don't have the
calculate that.
calculations
Yeah.
for it.
No.
it's downstairs.
But I don't think that if we go as an amended order, but request them to pay the review
Review
fees,
fee,
I think that's fair to the
Yep.
public.
Yep.
And there's no reason that they have to pay for their review fees. And that was the whole purpose of the bylaw, was so that everybody paid for their own.
Mhm.
So I think I would make in the form of a motion that my motion would be that we request them to pay the review fees and file an amended order.
Okay.
You're not gonna be requesting them, you're requiring them.
Right,
You know,
that they be required to,
Pay the review fees under the local bylaw.
under this request for the amended order, huh?
Pay the review fees of a notice of intent under the local bylaw, but that they can file an amended order.
I mean, you can do that, that's your prerogative, but I think that the application is substantial enough to require a filing fee for the application.
I'll withdraw my motion and see if anyone has a different one.
I'm trying to make it work so that we don't have an undue burden on the individual trying to do this work here. The original notice did cover the entire area, okay?
Oh, the very original, under the old regulations, correct?
Right. Well, be that as it may, I mean, we can articulate an order of conditions to review and consider the new stormwater management, so that comes into play. What I'm looking for is a balance between penalizing the individual, and forcing them to go through a new notice of intent, versus us working with the individual to give him an order of conditions of abatement so that he can work forward. The work, I understand, is substantial, but the difference in filing fees is also substantial.
Right, because, Mr. Chairman, the only thing you will be helping them with in the amended order will be the timeline. Instead of a 2-month process, you might save them a month. But had they filed this as part of that application, then the filing fees will also reflect this amount of work. Right? Because the length of the road is different. The amount of buffer
Right.
zone is different. So the fee, so then this would be a backdoor way for.
Okay, because we did a new order of conditions, because they couldn't, because it had lapsed.
Right.
They only paid for
For
that
that
order
portion.
of condies on that
Well,
portion.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So if you do it as an amended, then you've basically allowed the application to be considered based on only a part of that project, without the fees that would have been based on the overall project.
I see.
So if they had been ready at the time they filed that application for the order that you already gave them, that would have reflected this work. So they're really paying what it should have been paid, except that they're paying it 2 separate times. Am I making any sense?
Mr. Bimilla would like to speak.
Yes.
Am I making any sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want,
If I'm not mistaken,
please, to the podium, and introduce yourself, please.
Peter Bamilla from Pine Hill Estates. As far as the fees go, when I resubmitted the fees, I paid the entire project. not just what we were underdeveloped. If I'm not mistaken, we paid for the whole, because there were homes, there was lots that didn't affect the wetlands at all. So we encompassed every lot in the whole project, and I paid those fees now, previously. So there's not a there shouldn't be a difference.
So we need to review, we need to review the file to see if indeed that was the
If
case.
that was it.
I don't believe that was the case.
I know when we went through it, we encompassed the whole project, and I paid the fees for the whole project.
Okay.
As far as the stormwater management, the plans almost met the stormwater management. All Mr. Silva had to do is change a couple of things. We didn't change the length of the road, we didn't move the road, still have the same amount of paving. All he did is refigured his calculations, and it does meet, the original plan was close to stormwater management for today.
You couldn't have, because that regulation did not exist.
I understand, but when they originally drew it, it encompassed a lot of it. There's not a lot of drainage changes to that plan. If you compare them to what it was to what it is today, there's not a lot of difference.
Well, then that's why that's exactly why we need to review it, because I cannot see how you design a project that was not required to meet recharge requirement, treatment requirement, and tell me that, oh, by the way, we almost made it back then. It wasn't even required at the time. So it defies logic. Why would you have done that? But anyway, what I'm suggesting is, because it's not a single family, it's not a subdivision, it's like, it comes on like category number 3. So every building that is in the buffer zone would have had to incur a filing fee. So I don't believe, and that's why then what we need to check. I don't believe that this area was paid for in that application. If it was, then I stand corrected. That is the only thing that you would, that's what I'm saying that you should avoid, because if they didn't pay the fees for it, and they're doing an amended order, then they have skillfully averted.
Okay.
That's all, so.
Maybe we should make a motion
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
defer till we can
Take it under
research
advisement.
the project.
I mean, when's our next meeting? 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
April
Sixth.
6th.
So it's 3 weeks. But to make this decision in 3 weeks versus tonight, and to have this review of what the fees were, it's just extending you out another 3 weeks.
That's fine.
I think it's well worth it to review what was paid for the last one.
Right.
Make sure it wasn't covered,
To get it right.
So we have all the correct
and
information.
if it wasn't covered, then it's a new filing.
Right, okay. And if it was, then we will go with the
Then we'll come back into the same discussion
Right.
and make our decision at that point.
A review that, so, that's really what we were getting at, and when I was talking to Gail,
Okay.
so that, I think we need the fees to be,
That's-
otherwise people will do that.
Yeah,
File
no, I
for-
understand what you're saying.
File for a small project.
I
and come
think
back.
I think it's well worth it
Incrementally.
to take another
Yeah.
couple weeks, figure out exactly what was paid for, and then move forward.
Right.
If it wasn't paid for, then file a new notice of intent, have a separate number for that section, and that way the rest of it can be cleaned up.
Right.
Done.
Yes.
If it wasn't paid for in this last filing.
Keep in mind, when I submitted the previous application, I included the whole project. You people were the ones that
Understand.
separated it out,
That's
which
why-
is
Right.
fine.
That's why we're trying to make
And
it
that's
work
why
with
we
the
want to go
amended
back and check what was paid first before we make
Because I
any
would still like to
determination.
get a partial release on what was already done on the project. I know we didn't, I never got a certificate of
I
compliance
see.
on some of the project.
Right.
I'd like to try to get a certificate of compliance on what was already done
Okay.
and get that cleaned up
So
too.
he needs to submit that as a
For
request.
partial, right, and then we will review that portion that is requesting review for. You can do that. The regulation allow for partial.
Partial.
Right,
Okay.
but,
But he has to request that.
Right,
One
exactly.
before this hasn't gotten such.
And then there's one before that, there's just too many numbers on that project.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, you gotta be careful to make sure we're comparing apples to apples.
Right,
But
okay.
here, I just want to, for the record, because we had a public meeting here and you're being taped and stuff. For the record, the commission did not force them to segregate it. The commission did that as a way of accommodating them. They requested that. So they could keep going. So it's not like, well, they came here and we want to do everything. They were not ready for this part of the project. They were not ready. And so you could not have given them approval. And if you remember, I was saying, hey, they're not ready.
That's right.
But then the commission said, okay, why don't we stop here to allow you to go forward? So allowing them to go forward isn't, but you don't want to mischaracterize or misrepresent the position of the commission.
We gave them a partial okay.
Exactly, to accommodate them.
Now they're looking for a partial.
Yeah, to accommodate them. You didn't tell them segregate the project because the commission is doing that.
Okay. So,
I
do
think-
we have a motion
I
on
think
that?
my motion is to have Azu review what fees were paid, if they encompassed this section C. If they did not, he can report. If they did not encompass section C, then they need to file a new notice of intent. If they did encompass section C or partially encompassed it, then Azu can report back to us at the next meeting and we can continue this discussion and see where we go from there.
That makes sense.
That's-
I don't want Azu to be left having to go between one or the other, but if there were no fees paid
Right.
for that section,
Okay.
then the applicant has the right to understand that we're probably gonna say, you gotta file a new notice of intent for that section. Okay, if there were fees paid,
Then it's
then we'll
considered.
reopen this discussion.
Okay,
I'll second all that.
okay.
Wait, she's still writing it.
All in favor?
That's quick.
Aye. Okay. I think that's fair. I think that works for everybody.
My only question is, I submitted 2 certificates of compliance.
Okay.
I only received 1. The other one was completed and submitted. You did not accept that because that was part of this order of conditions.
Correct.
So that was a partial.
That's why,
That was a
I submitted
partial.
But it's far enough away from the project. It's still part of the project, but it's far enough away. So you want me to refile that as a partial compliance?
No, the commission can issue a partial certificate listing only what has been completed. The only problem with some of the work that's included in this, one that is asking for partial release is, if you're not careful, you might unwittingly release a project that has not been completed. And that's the problem with this segmentation, and, it's great to work with people and accommodate people, but a lot of times, you slip and it comes right back to bite you in the, you know where. So.
Not me, but-
But anyway, that's the only thing. We need to review the file completely along with.
What's the hardship if we delay the certificate of compliance until all the work is done?
No, I don't know what the hardship is on the applicant, other than
Is there a hardship?
they might not be
Are you
able to.
unable to sell property?
No, with the previous problems that we had with a former engineer that were not a business, okay, I do not want to have to, in 5 years, 10 years, have to pay another engineer to come recheck everything. And this is what had happened even with the previous 2 small compliance, the order and conditions that we closed out. One of them you closed out because it was separate from there.
Right.
That work was all done. Even the second one, it's part of, to my understanding, you said because it was part of the same parcel, you wouldn't give me
until it's all done.
until a certificate of compliance. But that order number expired anyways. So the order is already expired for, even though it's part of the same piece of property, the same parcel, that work's already been complete and it's done.
Yeah.
The as-bilt's been done, I submitted it, and you never,
It's held up.
Yeah.
Can
So
I,
we-
can I just ask a question? Are we talking about George's Loop or
Yes.
Marie's Way?
I'm talking about George's Loop.
Okay.
You-
And that was
you
a
did
separate,
two
separate
orders.
filing.
I submitted two certificates of compliance for Amber Way
yep,
and one for
George's Loop. Okay,
Tucker Terrace,
okay,
you know,
all right.
and which
That,
is on
that I
this-
understand.
Which is on the,
So it's before the first bridge,
before the first bridge.
and then Marie's Way is part of the other thing,
Larry
and
might
you're,
have committed, he might have, because the line kept going, we also made a third
request?
request for Marie's Way and the two big retention ponds and basically everything in that outer area. I mean, we could separate it out, but I was just trying to
Okay,
get, and there was two other formal notices, two order of conditions on the property a long time ago that I was trying to get cleared up, that the town actually owns now. And that was order of conditions for Pine Tree Lane and stuff. There was two orders found dating back 20-something years that were never filed, but since then, the town had taken ownership.
okay. All right, so that,
That's something totally different.
Okay. well, I can, George's Loop wouldn't be a partial, it would be a complete, because it's a separate filing.
Yes.
Okay.
But it was part of the same
Okay.
parcel, and from my understanding, that's why you
Well,
did not
we
accept
issued
it.
a certificate.
Yeah,
Did we issue a certificate for
Yeah,
that?
so
we have
what
to review it.
what I suggest is that we, that's why,
Review the whole-
you know, when you're, okay, anyway, as soon as it's beat a dead horse.
Yes.
It's the only issue, that's why it's very complicated and cumbersome when you keep breaking these things up into little, let's do here, and, you know, something might slip, and I just don't wanna, so I think I wanna,
Why don't you-
let's look at the files completely, see what's done and what's not done, and how best to approach them, so that the interest of the commission is as well addressed and protected.
Because that way we can see if there's something that we can close off and get off the table.
We'll look
It's
at all
less
of that.
to look at in the big picture.
Yeah.
We'll look at all of that. Okay. Okay, great, thanks, thank you, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the informal, request for a certificate of compliance, DEP file number SC 2690508, Massachusetts Electric, I'm dyslexic, 0580, Massachusetts Electric Company, existing MEC right-of-way easement, map 14, partial 67.
Yeah,
You
Mr.
have that?
Chairman, this one here, Gail had prepared it for review.
Yep.
And ordinarily, I wouldn't have any issue with the utilities. A lot of this work will be allowed, and actually, now you see a lot of that work being allowed as under a request for determination
Oh, I see.
of applicability. But what had happened in this particular one, it's long expired. However, the order of conditions stated that the commission wanted an as-built. They did not have a signed and stamped design plan. But from what I could see, from the records of the commission, the intent was to get a definite idea of what was actually done with an as-built plan. And so I contacted Ms. Duarte and to explain that I'm not adverse to the project, except that because the order is expired and they're looking for certificate of compliance, the commission couldn't even vote to waive that requirement, even if you wanted to.
So
So
why are we here?
No. What I'm saying, the best thing for them to do is prepare the as-built plan, and then you can issue a certificate of compliance.
So do you want us to make a motion to deny this?
I mean,
Or do
that's-
we want to table it?
I'll table it, because, I mean, it's, actually,
Okay.
I would say you, table,
Continue it.
yeah,
Table with a letter?
continue it, and, let them submit the, if the order did not specifically require that, I would have said, yeah, go ahead and issue the certificate.
All
It's
right.
just so that you have your
But-
I
paperwork.
make a motion that we table this until such time as an as-built plan is obtained.
But Tracy would like to.
Oh,
Let's back up. Gentlemen, let's back up.
I usually have to do something. I'm Tracy DeWart from Conoco Engineers, so I'm doing this project for Mass Electric. It was permitted back in 2002, and at
I
the
was
time, they were replacing some old wooden poles along the whole line, which all fell under the maintenance provision of the Wetlands Protection Act.
Mhm.
This one particular pole, they had to add guy anchors to, so it was additional work, so they were told to file an NOI for it. Probably should have been an RDA.
Right, okay.
So it's been done, it's been in for almost 15 years.
So it's
It
time to
was-
do it again.
It's guy anchors, no, not quite. They got a longer life than that. The design plan wasn't stamped, there was no topo on it. The guy wires that were proposed weren't shown on it, that's what was approved. And there is a standard condition for an as-built that was requested, but
Yeah, that's,
most towns that I've seen, and a lot of these I've been closing out have been older, they have approved them, so I'd have to look into that.
Are you in a position to get us an as-built for this?
National Grid typically doesn't do as-built for transmission. They don't like giving out to the public exact locations of things.
Oh, I see.
I'd have to confer to them on
You could tell us, but then you'd have to kill us.
kind of.
I think we
Wait,
ran into
wait
something like
till
this.
after July 1st.
I think we ran into something like this when we had requested an as-built from a utility, and they won't give us an as-built, it
Right.
costs them money, and they'd come back and say, well, if you want an as-built, you have to pay for
oh,
it.
no, but then they ended up doing it because we said, oh, really? Then you're not getting a certificate. I remember that very clearly. And you said, oh, okay, no problem. They go, oh, well, I guess we'll give you an as-built. So, you may not necessarily,
We have no, we can do nothing.
no, you can't waive that requirement because then
For guy wires in one pole.
it's a decision that was made at the public hearing.
Right.
And the public hearing is closed, so you can't reopen it and change it without,
You don't remember that decision, Bill? You were here, 2002. You don't remember the decision?
I was a lawyer.
Yeah.
so.
This is
what
why
they
we're
can-
here now. This is why we're here
Mr.
now.
Chairman,
So
what they
what's
can-
our recourse?
What they can do is, I understand the protection of, they don't have to identify the transformers or what have you, but they can show a approved work area to get around that requirement of the commission and show some contours. They don't have to identify the transformers and so on and so forth. They can just show us some elevations and say, and outline the area that was approved for work, and then show some elevations there. I think that's
is
the
that
easiest
possible?
way to handle it.
I'd have to ask National Grid if they're okay with that. That's not
You could
something I can answer for
just
them
draw it
right
on
now.
a piece of paper.
There'll be a little piece of paper just like this. A little stick figure of a pole. and some
That's what the
guy
design,
wires.
that's what the design plan was.
Yeah, so we can do that if you want. Take
Do a
the,
cut and paste.
this approved plan that was submitted, throw some elevations on it. If you want to freeze out the structures, freeze out the structures. But we have to have something on file that says an as-built. For all I know, stamp it and it says, yeah, it says topographic as-built. Then the commission has met that requirement. I've covered that.
We had a
Why do they
different
need a
age in
certificate of
2002.
compliance anyway?
Okay.
Why do they need it?
Because they issued an order of conditions.
Why do they need a certificate? They're not gonna sell the property.
Well, I'm sure what National Grid probably like to keep their paperwork in order.
Yeah, that's all they're doing right now, is they had one particular town, they went to
And-
open a new project, and it had an
And we have to
existing
keep our
unclosed
paperwork.
one,
Amen.
and that opened up, let's look into what hasn't been
That
closed
opened
out in
a
the
good
state.
job for the last few months.
Yeah, pretty much. A few years I've been doing these.
You're probably gonna keep going.
It doesn't end.
So what can you provide us in the way of, that we need to, for
I'd
our
have to ask,
paperwork to
I'd have
close
to
this?
ask for, a continuance now and confer to them and see what, if they're
Okay.
okay with moving forward with that or not, and then get back to you before
Okay.
the next meeting.
As long as you explain to them, it doesn't have to be as elaborate.
Yeah.
Exactly what our consultant said, it doesn't have to be,
We don't need the GPS.
Just enough to meet the requirement of what that was on that order. of
Because we need
conditions.
to put that in our file so
No
that we can
problem.
close this out. Okay,
So my motion to table it,
Continue.
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 April 6th.
Second.
I need a second.
Thank you.
All in favor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, formal, we need to read.
Well, these are requests for extensions.
And we already, part of the record.
Do we already open these?
Yeah, we should.
Not
The
this
last
one.
meet- Not this one?
This is, last week it was minor modification.
Yeah.
But on review of his application, it is expiring next month.
Oh, I see.
Right.
So-
Right.
So,
You
there's-
allow the minor modification on the pool.
and then he realized
Then
that
he realized-
it's going to expire on him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we need to open the hearing.
Right.
Okay. All public hearings and meetings heard by the Raynham Conservation Commission on Wednesday, March 16th, 2016, at 5:30 PM in the Raynham Veterans Memorial Town Hall, Donald L. McKinnon Meeting Room, 558 South Main Street, Raynham, Mass. Are relative to filings and joint hearings and/or meetings under Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, as amended, and the Town of Raynham Wetland Protection Bylaw.
Thank you, Paul. Okay, we have a request for an extension of order conditions, DEP file number SE 2690896, Pat Higgins, 64 Christina's Path, map 9, partial 7-3.
How long they want it for?
3 years.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Mr. Chairman, I have the paperwork ready,
Okay.
if you'd like to.
Issuance of the extension of order conditions that were just approved, DEP file number SE 2690896,
I'll make
Pat
that,
Higgins, 64 Christina's Path, map 9, partial 7-3.
I'll make that motion for the extension.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We just happen to have the paperwork right here.
Gail must have vacation time coming up.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? On that?
Yes, there's a site visit that I think is scheduled that he'd like to talk about, for
Okay.
1296 Broadway.
Yeah, 1296, 1326 Broadway. We have scheduled that for Tuesday, May 23rd at 9 a.m.
Okay.
So,
22nd.
Hmm?
I think it's the 22nd.
it's Tuesday the 20,
That's Tennyson, that's the corner of Broadway
Tuesday the
and
22nd.
Bridge
oh,
Street, I
Tuesday the
believe?
22nd?
I
Oh,
mean,
sorry, Tuesday the 22nd.
Yeah.
I thought it was Tuesday was the 23rd.
Do you need assistance with that, or?
Yeah, if anyone wants to come along,
What's that location again?
it's right at the corner of Elm. It's right at the corner of Elm
Across
and,
from,
across
across from
yeah.
Speedway?
Yeah.
Mobile.
Do you want to send out an email on that? And then if I'm available, I
yeah,
can go.
it's not
I'll
right at
meet you
9
there.
a.m.
Yeah.
Their flags are hanging right in the middle of water.
How did he
So what
get
do you
that?
want, somebody to get down so you can climb on our backs?
Oh, no, he's saying that he's right. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Okay.
So we need to bring our boots, is what
All
we're
right.
saying.
All right, so I'll send you out an email.
Yeah, so I can just get it on my calendar.
Okay.
If I'm available, I'll go.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
As we discussed earlier, our June 1st meeting.
Oh, yeah, right.
What can we just
Okay,
update
go ahead.
update them on
Yep, I'm sorry.
the applications that came in?
Mhm.
The 40B?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that one there, we're not putting them on the agenda because it's an incomplete application. They pay like $500. They owe the town over $4,000.
Okay.
You need a motion?
So, no, we're just not giving them a schedule, yeah. So we contacted the engineer, and they will,
Now, where does our bylaw come into play with 40B?
unfortunately, doesn't.
So they can beat the bylaw, but they can't beat the regular fees.
That's right. Oh, and I'm talking the regular, that's not even reflecting the bylaw fees.
The 40B allows them to bypass regulations and bylaws, but not state or federal law, so
That
they
they
still
have
need
to
to
meet
comply
before.
for that.
Now, here's the thing though. The commission, you can do that because the local bylaw is not automatically waived. The Board of Appeals is the special permit granting authority for 40Bs. So you can go to the
Board of
Board of Appeals and present an argument for why they shouldn't, and they might say, no, we're not gonna waive this.
You got riverfront, you got a lot of things.
Yeah, they've got riverfront, they got BVW,
They
they
got
have.
inner riparian too.
Right,
Yeah.
and so,
So, do we want to send a letter to,
that would be my idea,
Well, Candy, until we get,
Until you-
we don't have the information.
right, that's right. That's
Have
right.
they been through planning board? Are they also?
No, no, Board of Appeals.
Yeah, but have
But
they
do
been
we
through
wanna
planning
open a
board too,
hearing?
right?
No, you can't open it, we can't really discuss it, I'm just doing
Okay.
a report to you of what has come by. So I really don't wanna be discussing it because
Right,
it's, you don't have an open
don't
hearing.
wanna say too much.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I can
Okay.
inform you
Yep,
what's
yes,
going on
yep.
under the agent report, if you will.
Okay. All right, well, just another quick update for everyone. Based on I guess an abutter complaint, from lack of a better term, at Patriot Recycling, Azu and I and Kevin went out and did a site visit to see if there were indeed any wetlands violation or other work that's being done at the property was not correct. We went out there and looked at the work that had been done and is being done, and it was well within the notice of intent that was filed, as well as the conditions that were laid out, so they weren't in violation. We also determined that they were outside the 20-foot buffer zone, so they weren't 25-foot buffer zone, so they weren't impacting the wetlands at all. So she did contact the complainant and let him know that we had done a site visit and that everything was in compliance. So that's been taken care of.
And I also reported back to DEP.
Right.
As well as Natural Heritage.
Okay. And they were satisfied
Yes,
with your
yes.
response? Okay. So that's all we had on that. And that was last, 3/9 was the date that we went out,
Wednesday?
which was last Wednesday.
Do
Okay.
you wanna just address this?
Okay, anything else?
Just as you asked me to bring up, I'm going on vacation the week of Memorial Day. And Memorial Day comes in later in the last Monday, but it leads into our first meeting in June, the
Okay.
first Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I will not be here. So it's up to you if you'd like to cancel the meeting or to play it by ear and see how much we have going on the agenda. And we could have a meeting on the following Wednesday and have two back-to-back.
Why don't we,
Not those two. No, no,
Not
no,
those
no,
two,
no.
okay.
If we do it the second week, we'll cancel the third week, and I'll be done the second week.
Why don't we just,
do we get closer to see what
Yeah.
the load looks like, or do you wanna make a
why don't we just
determination
Hey,
right now?
cancel that
it's not
meeting?
gonna change her
Well, I know that.
vacation no matter what.
Well, we could just move the work to the following meeting,
Meeting, yeah.
which is fine.
So
As
just
long
can-
as there's nothing that has to be done in
Just
that.
cancel
Right.
that first
And-
meeting?
and-
I'm fine with that. I just,
And notify everybody like we usually do in the summertime that we're not gonna have a meeting. You gentlemen can have the meeting by yourself.
Motion to cancel the first meeting in June.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye, done deal.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Motion,
Rob, two quick updates, so just so they know what's going on. We did receive a request for determination at, on King Philip Realty Trust, and they filed a single request for determination for two separate lots. You can't do that because two different locations. What had happened, though, is the assessor's records have not been updated to reflect the fact that they subdivided the property. Okay, so, and they paid an incorrect fee amount, which we contacted them to let them know. And then the other one had, the other one is, Chris Yaworth for number 129 Brook Street had come in. His client, I guess there's some marital issues going on anyway. They're trying to sell their property and settle people. And they contacted him to do a request for certificate. He came in and talked to Gail and I, and he told them he couldn't issue a certified as-built plan and a certificate of compliance request because they had filled some wetlands beyond the scope of what was allowed. Yeah. So he was asking what he could do. Well, that order actually, as a lot of the other orders of conditions have expired. So we couldn't extend it, and so I felt the best way to handle it RDA, because it's something that came up to the attention for the benefit of doubt, give them benefit of doubt that the applicant didn't know, but the engineer came forward to say I'm not going to certify this because of X, Y, Z. So he's going to do an RDA so that they can remove the lawn and restore the area.
And then
We can do that as an enforcement order too, couldn't we?
Well, you could do that as an enforcement
I mean,
order.
Well, let them come in with an RDA, and then we can
Yeah,
get involved.
usually you do an enforcement order if it's something that you notice, or like notice a potential violation that was called in and you go out there. This one here, these people are saying, oh, we screwed up and we just want to fix it.
Then an RDA is appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Now we want that other motion?
Yeah.
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Oh, wait, I can't say that.
Because Tracy came in.
All in
so-
favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.